Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I got back from a hike last night and I was sitting around, and I tell you what, I did not want to do the wrangle this week. I was going to do it, but I just didn't want to do it. And I was sitting there trying to think of a good topic. And then I realized there it is. What do you want to do when you don't want to work? All of us run into this at some point or another. We don't want to admit this to ourselves and other people, but we all experience times where we need to work, we don't want to do it, and we need to figure out a way forward without dragging our feet in the mud. So we'll talk about that here in this video. Let me switch that over. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to always add that in. At the end, I will answer them. And also, we'll be doing news and the artist highlight as well. So let's check it out. What to do when you don't want to work. This is very relevant to me right now because I just got done with a 6-mile hike. I came back home, I'm exhausted, and I also had a burger that made me feel kind of bad. So there's going to be many times in your life where you don't want to work, but you need to anyway. So how do you push on when you don't want to work? Well, number one, try to understand why you don't want to work, because maybe there's something you need to do first before you get to what it is you need to do. In my case, I needed a shower. I needed to take a break. I needed to drink some water, maybe take something to help my stomach out for a minute, give myself a little bit of a break so that I felt better and I had the energy to come up here and do this wrangle. So that's a good example of if you try to understand why you don't want to work, then that will perhaps tell you what your next step should be. So that's number one. Number two is don't try to make it your most productive day ever. And so for this analogy, I'll use the gym. How many of us have some kind of workout routine we want to do, and we just don't want to do it? Maybe we have the energy for it. Maybe we know we could go down to the gym and do some kind of workout, but we just don't want to do it. Well, in those situations, success means showing up. If I don't feel like going to the gym that day, I'll go anyway, but I might make it a lesser workout, or tell myself that I'm going to do a lesser workout just so that I show up. And so if you convince yourself just to make at least a little bit of a dent towards your goals, if you just show up, then half the time you'll end up doing the full workout anyways. And the other half of the time, you're not going to exhaust yourself and make you hate your work over time. So really work and being successful and chipping away at your goals is very much a game of showing up. And it doesn't have to be your best day ever. That's okay. You just need to contribute a little bit at a time. Takeaway number 3. Think about the small steps instead of the big ones. For this analogy, I'll give an example of myself when I was in high school. I hated waking up for school. Like, really, really did not want to do that. I had to drive about 45 minutes to an hour to school. That's not so bad, but man, I was always up late. I went to bed around probably midnight or 1, got up at 6, that sort of thing, and I really did not want to wake up when that alarm clock was chirping. So what I did to help me in this situation, to help me actually do this, is I thought about the small steps it took to get myself out of bed. Maybe when that alarm clock was going, I would start by just moving my feet around, just kind of twisting my ankles. Then I might start moving my legs a little bit. And little by little, I inch my way to getting out of bed, turning off the alarm clock, and going to school. That's what I did in high school, and that actually helped quite a bit. And the lesson there is that if you take small steps to just kind of get yourself warmed up, to get yourself in the flow of whatever your work is, that can build up to you not minding the work anymore because you're warming up to it gradually. So try that sometime if you don't feel like working. And lastly, takeaway number 4, think about how your work fits into your greater goals and aspirations. Oftentimes, if we remind ourselves why we're doing something, it puts our actions into context and it helps motivate us to think about that versus the petty things that might be telling us that we don't want to work. So as an example here, I've took a big old hike. I had a burger that made me feel bad, but you know what? It's really not so bad. What I'm thinking about is trying to make a great wrangle for you guys. If it can help any one of you in any degree, then for me, that's what the Weekly Wrangle is all about. If I remind myself of that, then that helps me get up and talk to the camera and get it done. And likewise with you, if you don't want to go to work one day, remind yourself why you go to work, why that can fit into your broader goals and aspirations, and try to keep your eye on what that forward momentum looks like. And if you don't have goals and aspirations, that's a very good reason to make them, because it gives you something to put your faith in so that you have inspiration to be at your best. So there are a few tips for what to do when you don't want to work. All right. And there you have it. Short and sweet for this week. One thing I'd like to add to that as well is that it really helps to be decisive on whether or not you're going to do something or not going to do something. We're kind of taking for granted that it's something that you are going to do. It's something that you said you're going to do, you don't want to do it, but you do it anyways, right? But there are situations where you don't want to do something, and the right answer is actually not doing it. So in those situations, and I think those situations are more rare than not, it's worth saying that you need to be sure that your yes is yes and your no is your no. If you want to do this, then do it and don't complain and make the most of it. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it and put it to rest. But the worst place you can be is in between, kind of halfway yes, halfway no, and going about your work in a way that's kind of dragging your feet, that's just bitter, that's not fun, okay? That's the worst thing you can do. So either say yes or no, be decisive, and you'll be a lot happier as a result. So there you go, guys. That is what to do when you don't want to work. And that's what I try to remind myself of when that happens. Since last night, I've been feeling a lot better, so I don't have those attitude problems I was having last night, but it happens to all of us at some point or another. Now, moving on, we do have some news for the week that I'd like to share. Again, along the way, feel free to ask me any questions. It can be related to Houdini, 3D animation, what we just talked about. It's up to you. So let's get into that. First up, we have introducing Weta H. Not sure if I talked about this last week or not, but this is really cool because it's a partnership between Side Effects and Weta Digital. And so what this is a cloud production set of add-ons and tools. It's basically a lot of the proprietary tools that Weta uses in Houdini being now offered to the public. So that is really, really cool. This is by CEO Prem Akkaraju. Partnering with Side Effects was essential in realizing our vision for the cloud service. I cannot imagine doing this without them. The industry is moving to distributed architectures that will allow our cloud service model to reduce expensive technology barriers, further enhancing the natural strength of Houdini's node-based procedural workflows and overall position in the market. It's a lot of corporate lingo for, hey, we're excited to, offer you a cloud service that you can subscribe to now. And I think this is pretty cool, honestly. They have, I believe it looks like, some new physics solvers. So yes, low-key multi-physics solvers and high-performance compute paradigm. So whatever that is, could be a new RBD solver of some kind that's being introduced here with these set of tools. Something to keep a good eye on, that's for sure. Okay, next up, we have Side Effects starting a Tech Art Challenge in 2021. So this is basically a challenge for creating tools in Houdini. If you win, you get a license of Houdini plus their little swag kit, which is like a t-shirt and a mug and, fun stuff like that. And it's basically open to anyone who wants to create tools. They'll have a big old panel of judges. It looks like you can't use Megascans. I did read that for showcasing your stuff. But anyway, they want to include a community-based tool of some kind. So there you go. I think at one point I talked about art tests and are they ethical and, this whole thing. This is kind of borderline for me. I mean, typically Side Effects hires people to make tools. They don't just source it out to the public. So I'm kind of iffy on whether or not I think that that's a cool thing or not. But hey, if you are a junior, if you're somebody who has the time to go ahead and try to make tools for Side Effects for free, and maybe, get a swag kit or something like that, get some recognition, then sure, could be a nice thing on your resume. Next up, we have designing wonderful effects in Houdini. So this was a cool breakdown by Jose L. Molfino about creating cool things. So we have sparse pyro, we have some rolling marble coins, all kinds of different things going on right here. Fur and feathers. So something to check out. Also, Pixelogic announced the release of ZBrush 2021.7. This is new brushes, new features, and all kinds of new ZBrushy things. We have a knife brush right here. So we basically can just Boolean in screen space for these different things by just creating a lasso tool. Kind of interesting, maybe nice for creating hard shapes. We have this stager. So it stores 2 transforms on your mesh. And that's kind of cool, I guess. And we have this new bevel flat and bevel arc brush. So a brush specifically for bevels. Kind of interesting. So anyway, for those of you who are interested in ZBrush, something to check out. Okay, we already talked about that. Adobe is set to buy Frame.io for $1.275 billion. Whoa. I can't even imagine that sort of money. It's insane. But it looks like Frame.io co-founders Emery Wells and John Traver will join Adobe's Creative Cloud team. The goal of the acquisition is to integrate Frame.io with Adobe software tighter. They noted that they still plan to continue to invest in integrations for rival tools. I don't know about that. If Adobe's buying you out for $1 billion, I don't think you're going to be making tools to rival them. Kind of have my doubts on that. But the cloud-based platform has over 1 million users, including Vice, Netflix, BuzzFeed, and Adobe, which has been using the service for creating videos for its website, social media, and events. So pretty big acquisition. That's a big, big buy right there. And there you go. Also, Epic partners with Huobi Global to launch its membership token. So this is actually in the crypto space right here. Looks like it will drive the development and advancement of cross-chain gaming projects and product protocols around NFTs and brand licensing for digital merchandise. What that means, I'm not entirely sure. But what's been happening a lot lately is just a greater and greater consolidation of medium companies into larger companies. And, this is, or just, I guess, partnerships and things kind of becoming merged together. It's happening a lot more lately. So something to keep in mind, I suppose. But it looks like this is related to NFTs in the game space somehow. I'm not sure exactly how, but for all of you crypto nerds out there, this is something to take a look at as well. All right, lastly, we have the artist spotlight here, Stéphane Duquesnoy, who is probably one of my favorite 3D artists right now. He is a lecturer at HKU, University of the Arts in Utrecht. Hopefully I said that right. But anyway, what I love about his art here is just it has this classical feel to it. I mean, when you look at old classical paintings, you see that just, kind of gothic, dark, moody vibe about them. He captures that, but he does that using 3D. And that's a style I don't see often enough in CG. I think a lot of times we see this sort of bubbly pop art sort of look in CG, or we see a hyper realistic aesthetic, but we don't see this beautiful classic design. And this is something that I would love to see more of when it comes to 3D effects. It's a style that I personally like to do as well, just to some extent. And anyway, a great artist to draw inspiration from. All right. And I think that about does it for the day, you guys. Yeah, it's kind of a chill week. Besides that, at CG Forge, I am about halfway through the Pyro 3 course. There's still a lot of things to put together. It's one of those courses that I want to be sure is amazing for you guys. So I'm going to be working on that some more. And as always, if you haven't followed me on social media or you want to see the latest updates on Pyro 3 and all else that I release, check out these links below. Until then, I hope you all have a great week and good luck with all your projects.